Okay, good morning. I'm Jonathan Lim, Product Manager at Circle. I think folks tend to come up here and ask, how's everyone doing? And then you stare at like a sea of dead faces because no one actually wants to respond. So I'd like to try a little experiment, scale of 1 to 3, 1 being the worst, 2 being good, 3 being great. Okay, here we go. A round of applause if you're at 1. Oh, okay. Wow. Sunday morning in Brussels. No one's having a bad morning. I like that. What about 2? 2's right in the middle. I'm at 2 as well. I think 2 is a great spot given like the week ahead, right? There's a lot going on. You don't want to be too high. You don't want to be too low. You just want to start right in the middle. What about 3? Anyone at a 3? Round of applause. Wow. Okay. I did not expect that. That's great. That's great. I hope you don't regress to a 2 by the end of this very short talk. So. I have 14 minutes. So, as Joao mentioned, and actually Joao was the guy that hired me a couple years ago at Circle, so it's a tough act to follow. But I also don't like the term stablecoins for a different reason. I think it kind of implies a little bit of stodginess, and that the industry maybe, the product is stable and stale, but that's certainly not the case. I think based on what we're building at Circle, there's tremendous upside. We've already validated a lot of the product and the value, and I think it's a very dynamic space to be in. So based on the amount of number 3 claps there are, you might agree with me. Stablecoins are here to stay. Since kind of coming into the mainstream 5 or 6 years ago, this is total market cap of stablecoins. Despite the dip, stablecoins are not going anywhere anytime soon. And I'm sure many of you folks know that TradFi players are entering stablecoins. And to me, that's the greatest validation that you're in a good space, that the people you're trying to disrupt are now hustling to make products that they should have made 5 years ago. So source DeFi Llama. Thank you, DeFi Llama. Okay, I won't dive too much into how the CCTP works technically. Happy to talk about that afterward. Please find me, I'll be around. But just some quick stats off the bat to help set some context. We've cumulatively transferred $10 billion since launch just a year ago. About 250 million in weekly volume across chains, 1 million unique transactions, and greater than 50 active developers. These are the major developers. I think actually there's more than 100, but these are the folks doing kind of 90%, 95% of the volume. And then, I don't know if folks can actually see this, but I have a launch schedule or calendar down here of what we launched when. So basically, it's been kind of a tempo of 1 chain every couple months. And we have more planned, absolutely. Oh, you can't really see the shades there. And at the end of the day, the CCTP, right, its value lies in the network. And USDC plus the CCTP is the internet's most efficient and most scaled interoperable network for money. So network effects. This is a really interesting chart to show how network effects started taking hold as we expanded the network. So in the beginning, we launched Ethereum, Avalanche, Arbitrum, and then, so that's 4 chains essentially. Ethereum, Avalanche, I can't count right now, but that's fine, you get it. And then as soon as we started adding 5th, 6th, 7th chains, the adoption on each chain started to skyrocket. You see Solana here in purple. After launch, we started serving essentially 90% of the volume within a few weeks. That's amazing. That blue line up there, that's a little confusing. That's Noble for the Cosmos ecosystem, and the reason that started off at 100% is because native USDC didn't exist before we launched onto Noble. So from day 1, we were already serving 100% of their volume. And interestingly, almost all that volume has gone to DYDX. So we supported DYDX in their migration to the Cosmos ecosystem. Capital efficiency. So I hope there's not any economists in the room, but if so, let's ignore what we might think are some technical definitions of capital efficiency. But here is what I propose as kind of a proxy to that, which is how much of USDC total circulation is moving across chain natively at any given time. So red line is circulation. And sorry, I don't know if folks can see this because of the podium here, but essentially over time from last May, we launched in April, to now, you can see the interchain or cross-chain velocity of USDC increasing as we grew the network. So USDC and CCTP, as far as I know, is the only native mint and burn network that exists on the internet right now. And the network effects have been proven as we scale out the network here. So the blue row, that would be the actual magnitude of cross-chain volume, and then the yellow line and yellow numbers below, which are kind of hard to see, those reflect the percentage of total circulation. The impact of the network on individual users. Again, since launch, April of last year till now, the CCTP has directly generated 47K multi-chain wallets. I think this has been is unheard of and really amazing to see the power of the network. I only expect this to increase as we continue to expand the network. I'm sure some of you folks are wondering what that spike there in the middle is. That was due to an incentive campaign. I believe happened across Arbitrum and Optimism. I might be wrong on Optimism, but the takeaway was, so that's actually basically airdrop farming. I don't want to rabbit hole into airdrop farming because that's not what this talk is about, but at the end of the day, that is, in many cases, people moving money across chain. I don't want to, we don't need to relitigate whether airdrop farming is a good thing or a bad thing, but that is certainly a use case. This is not a common and durable use case of the CCTP, which I personally think is a good thing, and I have a slide coming up on what the actual sustained use cases are of the CCTP, which I think are valuable and interesting to folks in this room. Long-term vision is that USDC and the CCTP will allow people to obtain and preserve the benefits of multi-chain. Multi-chain is not going away, while minimizing the drawbacks, right? The fragmentation that exists. So the perfect world that we live in is where anytime you want to get the benefits of multi-chain, for example, different assets, use cases, things like that, you can do that without all the drawbacks, without having to deal with lock-in mint bridges and slippage and things like that. So over time, we're getting there. This is an interesting chart for those who can see the full view here. The thickness of the line is generally proportional to the cross-chain volume between those two nodes. So you can see the Ethereum and between Ethereum and Arbitrum is quite thick. I think that is actually historically our largest route. And then between Arbitrum and Avalanche as well. But again, you have to remember, some of these nodes only came on in like the last 6 months. So this chart will look very different in a year, very different in 5 years. I hope to make a lot of this information publicly available soon, by the way. CCTP is growing rapidly, but still day one. That's a little reference to that famous memo at Amazon. While I certainly am not trying to make CCTP or Circle USDC anything like Amazon, I do like that mentality, right? We've just begun. We've only been launched for a year, and there's decades of opportunity ahead, in my opinion. So here are the segments that we've identified, and we continue to cultivate both actively through developer relationships and also passively by publishing information and developer documentations that enable developers in these segments to build. Bridge apps and aggregators, nearly 200 million, and this is monthly, by the way, so just last month. Bridge SDKs, and I'll just quickly review what I mean by that. So bridge apps and aggregators are, I'm not sure if I was supposed to give examples, but like Li-Fi, a bridge app would be like Wormhole Portal Bridge. SDK, a good example of SDK is Socket. So they build a bridging SDK so that you can integrate CCTP into your protocol, for example. Centralized exchanges, this is a really interesting one. This is a surprise, a segment that we didn't think would be using the CCTP, but this is for treasury rebalancing. So because of the capital efficiency and the availability and reach of the CCTP, we found that centralized exchanges are actually using the CCTP at very high volumes and frequencies. Okay, is that my time up, or what is that? I'm kidding. They're using the CCTP to rebalance their treasuries. DEXs and lending protocols. The lending protocols are using the CCTP to allow cross-chain kind of direct deposit into the protocol, but the DEXs are doing both that and what the CEXs are doing. So that's a really interesting application as well. And then self-custody wallets, these are capital transfers for, small amounts, people like me, and then whales also use the CCTP directly. Oh, back. Okay, so what lies ahead? As mentioned, the vision is to enable a chain-agnostic world for end users while preserving the benefits of a multi-chain ecosystem. The best of both worlds. I think we can get there. We're focusing on ensuring that the CCTP continues to be capital efficient for users, zero slippage, native burn and mint. Exploring ways to enable USDC to be the universal gas currency. I think that's fundamentally a good user experience. Transaction UX on par with existing fintech apps. For example, you can send anyone money by doing @JLim, for example, for me, across both EVM and non-EVM, by the way. Because I do think there's going to continue to be a growth in non-EVM networks that need to be connected. And then payment settlement times equivalent to TradFi speeds. This is really important. So my team and I, we're definitely focusing on evolving the CCTP across this and all these other dimensions. Okay, I went a little past that bell, but I think that's all I have. Thank you.